look at what is in his hands. He is holding people, tiny, pale, limp human bodies, held up the way someone holds meat before eating it. And if you look at his mouth, you will see he is already eating one. The blood is running down his chin. His expression is not rage. It is not triumph. It is not even hunger. It is nothing. He is chewing the way a machine chews, without thought, without stopping, without end. This is Lucifer, and this painting was made in 1860 by an Italian artist named Filippo Bigioli, who spent 7 years of his life building a gallery dedicated entirely to one book, Dante's Divine Comedy. This particular image comes from the very last circle of hell, the deepest point, the bottom of everything Dante imagined. And what Bigioli found there, what Dante placed there, was not what anyone expected. Because here is the thing that will stay with you long after you stop watching this video. This is not a painting of the devil in power. This is a painting of the devil as a prisoner. And once you understand what Dante was actually saying, you will never look at the idea of evil the same way again. Let us start with what you can actually see, because this painting is dense, and most people who look at it miss most of what is happening inside it. The figure at the center is enormous, so enormous that the humans in his hands look like dolls. Bigioli has painted him emerging from what Dante called the Giudecca, the frozen lake, at the very bottom of hell, and the scale is deliberate. This is not a man-sized monster. This is something that dwarfs everything around it. And yet, despite that scale, despite those massive arms and that massive chest and those wide dark wings spreading behind him, there is something wrong. Something that takes a moment to register. He has 3 heads, not 3 bodies. One body with 3 heads growing from it. The central face looks forward, directly at you, with an expression that is almost blank. The left head turns sideways, and if you look very carefully at the upper right of the painting, you can just make out the third. Dante described them with precision. One face red, one pale yellow, one black. 3 colors, 3 faces, one creature. And the reason Dante gave them those specific colors matters enormously, but we will come to that. Now look at the wings. They are not feathered. They are not the wings of an eagle or a seraph. They are bat wings, leathery and dark and enormous. In Dante's text, he writes that they were larger than any ship's sails he had ever seen. 6 wings in total, 2 beneath each face. And here is the detail that makes the wings more disturbing than they first appear. They are beating, constantly, never stopping. And that perpetual beating is what creates the freezing wind that keeps the entire 9th circle of hell locked in ice. In other words, the devil's own futile and endless flapping is the cause of his own imprisonment. He is frozen because of himself. But the detail that pulls everything into focus, the detail that makes this painting genuinely difficult to look at, is what is in his mouths. Each of the 3 heads is chewing a human being, and not killing them, just chewing them. Dante was very specific about this. The sinners are not eaten. They are chewed and clawed and gnawed, but they do not die. They cannot die. They are in hell. So the chewing never stops, and the pain never stops, and the bodies are never consumed. It is an eternal process with no conclusion, and Bigioli captures this. The bodies in his hands are limp but not gone. The one at his mouth has its legs hanging free. The blood is there, the helplessness is there, and around him, small and almost easy to miss, are Dante and Virgil, 2 tiny figures in robes, standing and watching. This is important compositionally. Bigioli places them in the middle distance, not fleeing, not cowering, just witnessing, which is what they are doing. Dante and Virgil have traveled through the entirety of hell, every circle, every punishment, every horror, and this is where it ends. This is what the bottom looks like. Now here is the question the painting raises and does not immediately answer. Why is he crying? Bigioli paints blood and tears mixed together, running down those three faces. Dante wrote the same thing. 6 weeping eyes, tears falling constantly into the frozen lake below. Why would the devil be crying? What does the ruler of hell have to cry about? The answer to that question will completely change what you think this painting is about. And we are going to get there. Bigioli was born in 1798 in San Severino Marche, a small town in central Italy. He trained at the Accademia di San Luca in Rome and built a career in the late neoclassical style, producing frescoes for churches and decorative work for the palaces of Rome. He was, by most accounts, a serious and technically accomplished painter. A critic who knew his work well described him, with a kind of backhanded honesty, as a shy imitator of great models. And that description is interesting when you consider what he chose to spend 7 years of his life doing. In 1854, a publisher named Romualdo Gentilucci commissioned Bigioli to create a complete visual gallery of Dante's Divine Comedy, every major scene, every major canto, painted on large canvases. The resulting series ran to 27 paintings. Bigioli worked on them for 7 years, consulting Dante scholars who advised him on the theology and symbolism at every stage. The paintings were exhibited first at the Palazzo Altieri in Rome, then toured across Italy and eventually abroad, including to London. Think about what that commission actually demanded. A relatively modest, technically careful painter who had spent his career imitating great models suddenly had to find a way to paint hell. And not just hell in general, but the specific, theologically loaded, philosophically complex hell that Dante built in the late 13th and early 14th centuries. A hell that was not simply a place of fire and punishment, but a structured moral argument, a place where the form of each punishment was designed to reflect and embody the nature of each sin. And at the center of that argument, at the very bottom of that structure, was Lucifer. Dante's Lucifer was something altogether different from what his readers might have expected, and far more disturbing. He was not Milton's Satan, that magnificent rebel full of rhetoric and furious dignity. He was something colder, and something that Dante's theology required him to be. And that is what Bigioli had to paint. Dante wrote the Inferno in the early 1300s, and his Satan was built on an idea that most people have never encountered because it runs completely against how we imagine evil. Dante did not believe evil was powerful. He believed evil was empty, not a rival to goodness, not a dark mirror of it, but simply the absence of it, the way cold is the absence of heat. And if that is true, then the most evil thing that has ever existed should not look like a king. It should look like a husk. And that is exactly what Bigioli painted. The name Giudecca, the frozen circle where Bigioli's painting is set, comes from Judas. It is the place reserved for those who betrayed their benefactors. The worst possible sin in Dante's moral universe was not violence, not lust, not even murder. It was betrayal, the deliberate violation of trust, of loyalty, of the bonds that make human life possible. And the 3 sinners being chewed in Lucifer's mouths are the 3 people Dante considered the greatest betrayers in human history. Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus Christ, Brutus, who betrayed Julius Caesar, and Cassius, who helped him do it. Dante placed Caesar's betrayers alongside Christ's betrayer, because to him, Caesar represented the ideal of secular order, just as Christ represented divine order. To destroy either through betrayal was to attack the foundations of civilized existence itself. Now we can answer the question the painting raised. Why is he crying? Dante's Lucifer is not crying because he feels remorse. He is crying the way a machine leaks oil, a biological function with no emotion behind it. He does not notice Dante and Virgil climbing his body to escape hell. He does not look at them. He does not respond to anything. The 3 faces are a theological statement, not just a visual horror. Dante's scholars have long argued about their colors, but the most widely accepted interpretation is that they are a dark mirror of the Holy Trinity, where God embodies love, power, and wisdom. Lucifer's three faces represent hatred, impotence, and ignorance. He is not God's equal and opposite. He is a broken, hollow reflection of what divinity actually is. And the wings are perhaps the cruelest detail of all. Lucifer was once a seraph, the highest order of angels, with 6 wings. He still has 6 wings, but they no longer carry him anywhere. They produce only cold, only ice, only deeper imprisonment. The very thing that once connected him to God now locks him more completely into hell with every beat. Bigioli was not trying to show you a monster. He was trying to show you what happens to one. He spent 7 years painting the most powerful being ever created, frozen and empty, and chewing mindlessly at the bottom of existence, not to terrify you, but to leave you with a single uncomfortable thought, that this is where the road of pride and rebellion ends. Not in the way you imagined, but in something far quieter and far worse.